Welcome back to Torn Apart News, the only place on the internet where we tear the news apart bit by bit until we can finally be consumed by the xenomorphs and become a new alien species, because that would be so much more interesting than the way that we look right now, which is kind of boring when you think about it.
No! God, please, no! No!
Thank you for being here, and today we're talking about quite a lot of stuff. There were so many new trailers coming out this week, and we're gonna be starting by talking about Star Wars. I'm pretty sure this is the official first video ever where I talk about a new Star Wars thing. I'm talking about Star Wars The Acolyte, which is a new show that is coming out in the next few months. And I'm talking about it mostly because I've been through my fair share of Star Wars fatigue. In fact, I haven't seen any Star Wars thing since the release of the last movie.
Oh my god! Wow!
And when I saw the trailer of The Acolyte, I was like, this actually seems interesting, this seems new, this seems quite cool, but there is a lot more going on, and the fans are of course incredibly angry because this series apparently is gonna break the canon, is gonna destroy everything that you love.
What is that?
Even though it looks quite cool, even though it seems quite interesting, and it is starring new characters that you've never seen before, it is gonna destroy everything that you love. Let's find out why. The Acolyte apparently is set at the end of the High Republic era in a world of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers, approximately 100 years before Star Wars won the Phantom Menace. And basically the story is gonna be about a former Padawan who reunites with the Jedi Master to investigate a series of crimes, but the forces they confront are more sinister than they ever anticipated. The main problem with this series apparently is that it shows quite a lot of Jedis, and mostly it shows one Sith, because there is only one from that we can see, but apparently the Sith hadn't been seen for hundreds, if not thousands of years, if I'm not mistaken, and the appearance of Darth Maul in the prequel series was already something quite shocking. So that's the main point why people are angry at this series, and they're saying that the only thing that this doesn't break the canon if literally every single character dies, almost a la Rogue One, by the end of the series. If I have to be honest, I don't really care about the canon. I mean, when you think about Star Wars, there are so many games, so many books and movie novelizations, and so many comic books as well, so many different series, and when you think about it, the worst things that Disney Plus slash Lucasfilm slash Kevin Feige, I don't even know who's in charge at this point when it comes to the Star Wars universe, has been doing in the last few years is relying on the canon, relying on the nostalgia. The Obi-Wan Kenobi show apparently was incredibly bad. The Boba Fett show was apparently incredibly bad. Ahsoka was well received, mostly because it was related to actually the animated series instead of the actual live action canon. But you know, you can literally count good Star Wars things since the release of the final trilogy on one hand, if not even on maybe 2 or 3 fingers. But I'm still excited about it, and the problem that I had with some Star Wars series is that they looked very empty, and the universes and the planets that they were trying to build using the volume technology, they just felt very lifeless. I didn't really believe in them, and especially after watching the movie Dune, where I could really believe in every single set that they created there, I'm sitting here being like, you need to add something new, you need to inject some new force into the Star Wars franchise, especially if you really want to keep going with it. But anyways, if you'd like to know more about it, it's gonna be starring Amanda Stenberg and Lee Jung-jae, and it's gonna be 8 episodes, and it's coming out on June 4th, and it's developed by Leslie Headland, who you might know because she's the co-creator of the very fun show Russian Doll. I'm gonna keep my expectations low as usual, but I might actually give you a review of the first 2 episodes once The Acolyte comes out, which is saying a lot coming from me because I'm not a Star Wars fan anymore, unfortunately. Let's jump into the next piece of news and talk about something incredibly weird that honestly I wanted to ignore, but it's starting to become so ridiculous and funny that like I have to talk about it. A couple of weeks ago there was a new trailer for the movie Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2, and I specifically didn't want to talk about it because the first one was incredibly bad, and it's literally this company called Jagged Head Productions who is working on nostalgia, twisting it and making weird horror movies that are not even that good. It's literally just marketing scams when you think about it, and they're pushing it way forward. They have announced an entire cinematic universe with this graphic here of all the movies that are going to be coming out in the next few years. There is one that you already might know because I talked about it in the last few weeks, which is called Pinocchio Unstrung, but we also have Bambi The Reckoning and Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare. But the thing that looks weird when it comes to this chronology is this movie here, which is called The Pooniverse Monsters Assemble, and it's coming out in 2025. I'm so incredibly confused. Are people actually gonna watch these movies? Are they actually gonna be good? I don't know at the end of the day, but it's so funny to talk about it, mostly because it's a big, of course, middle finger to Hollywood execs and to, well, everyone who has been relying so much on IPs, big companies like Disney, Warner Brothers, DC Comics and those kind of things, because now, since they've entered the public domain, anyone can do whatever they want with them, even deliver us with weird stories like this. But just so you know, here's a list of all the people who are joining the Avengers of the Twisted Childhood universe. So the Monsters Assemble movie is going to be starring Bambi, Tinkerbell, Pinocchio, Peter Pan, Piglet, the Mad Hatter and Sleeping Beauty, and I suppose that the main character who's gonna be like the Captain America / Iron Man persona is gonna be Winnie the Pooh, because it's literally called Pooniverse. I don't know, this was so incredibly funny, I had to mention it, but let's not spend too much time on it because at the end of the day it's just a weird production thing. We don't really have any trailers for any of these things. I mean, this could literally die like the Dark Universe that was being created at Universal Pictures. Who knows at the end of the day. Let's head into our next piece of news, which is something quite exciting because we're talking about Alien Romulus, directed by Fede Alvarez. We have an official poster and we finally have an official trailer. You know what? I'm excited, but at the same time I'm like, is this actually gonna be anything new? Because you can say anything you want negative about Prometheus and about Alien Covenant as well, but you can't really say that they haven't tried to be novel, to try weird things, to try and create a new universe and use the lore that already exists within the Alien universe to tell new stories. And this movie here, by just looking at the trailer by the way, it looks like an adaptation of the video game Alien Isolation, and I'm sitting here being like, I don't know, is this gonna be worth it? I trust Fede Alvarez. I'm pretty sure this is gonna be incredibly bloody and gory and scary. I have no doubt about that, but still, this is not the trailer that sold me to it, you know? Even though I'm a huge Alien fan. The story concerns a group of young space colonizers while scavenging the deep ends of a derelict space station, coming face to face with the most terrifying life form in the universe, and it's the Xenomorph, of course. This is supposed to take place in between the first Alien movie and the second Aliens movie. Fede Alvarez said in many interviews that he doesn't want to delete any of the other Alien movies, like basically they did with Halloween and other horror movies where they're trying to rewrite like the chronology and the history and make everything way more complicated than it is. It's just like a small chapter that is taking place within those years. Apparently he's held private screenings with both Ridley Scott and James Cameron, and they really loved the final movie and they gave him incredibly different notes. It is starring quite a lot of young actors, unknown actors mostly, besides maybe Kaylee Spaney, who you might know because of her role in Priscilla, and Isabella Merced as well. Let's keep our expectations low, just because I hope that Fede Alvarez has actually something to say with this movie and it's not just yet another we're trapped into a space station trying to survive Alien movie, because at the end of the day I would just watch the original, or I would watch James Cameron's Aliens. Why would I need a new version of it if you're not doing anything new with it? But let me know down in the comments what you thought of it. Now let's head into our bonus news. This is the moment of the week where I try to rapid fire as many news about the movie and TV industry as fast as possible so that you can go back to your lives.
Finally!
First of all, we have 2 new trailers for the House of the Dragon Season 2. We also have an official release date, which is gonna be June 16th. They did something quite cool. 2 different trailers from 2 different point of views, the Blacks and the Greens, the 2 different families, even though it's still the Targaryens at the end of the day. The effects seem even better than the first season. I'm super excited for it. Then we're talking about Netflix Chaos, which is something we don't know that much about besides the fact that it's a dark comedy. It's starring Jeff Goldblum and David Thewlis, and it revolves around 6 humans as they discover their connection to each other and to a long-standing ancient prophecy while they deal with corrupt and arrogant gods. And Goldblum apparently is playing Zeus. This could be either incredibly pointless and mediocre or very interesting. You never know when it comes to this weird Netflix series. We have a trailer for a horror film called Humane, which is coming out on April 26th, and it's directed by Cronenberg, who is a human being that I didn't know. I mean, I'm actually for Nepo babies only when it comes to Cronenberg's family, because Brandon Cronenberg has made some of the most interesting sci-fi / horror films that I've seen maybe ever. So I'm pretty sure that this is going to be quite interesting as well. But if you look at the trailer, this is definitely very different. It's not as based on gore. It actually reminds me of The Purge, and it also reminds me of Your Next. This is going to be a dystopian satire taking place over a single day, and it's taking place in a universe where there has been a global ecological collapse, which has forced world readers to take extreme measures to reduce the Earth population. Honestly, I'm quite hyped for it, and it's coming out on Shudder. This is a fun news to mention, and apparently all the Spider-Man movies are gonna be re-releasing in the US, and here are all the dates. There is a fun poster for it as well. I think Sony is getting quite sad and pathetic because Madame Web was such a failure. Maybe they need some money, that's why they decided to re-release all of these Spider-Man movies, and they're probably gonna work because people love Spider-Man just in general, so why not? We finally have a trailer for Beetlejuice. We have a look at the new cast, and that is basically it. It has received quite a lot of negative reactions from the public, mostly because it looks quite cheap, and we can't really tell exactly why we're making this movie. Personally, I didn't really like Jenna Ortega being cast in this. I feel like she's already so tied to Wednesday and to that kind of performance, and I feel like she's gonna be retreading the same things. So I'm like, why is she in this? We finally have a trailer for that weird film that I talked about last week, and probably even the week before. It's called Harold and the Purple Crayon. It's coming out on August the 2nd, and it looks weird and it doesn't look funny. I'm pretty sure this is gonna be a very cringy movie, but I suppose it's for children, so go enjoy it, children. We also have a poster for a series called Eric. It's coming out on May 30 on Netflix, and it's a TV show starring Benedict Cumberbatch. I don't want to say that much about it, mostly because I'm waiting for the trailer and then we can go deep into it. We have a teaser trailer for the series The Penguin, which is supposed to come out in fall season this year on Max. Honestly, like, this was exactly what I was imagining. That kind of gangster thing that we already explored a little bit in Gotham and a lot more in the Christopher Nolan trilogy. I really don't see the point of this existing, but people seem quite excited and it got quite a lot of views on YouTube, so let me know down in the comments if this did it for you. We also have a first trailer for the slasher movie In a Violent Nature coming out on August 31st, and it looks quite cool. This seems to be like a very art house horror movie. It seems to be very naturalistic as well. We're following this slasher creature from the back as he's killing so many different people. This is gonna be quite cool, to be honest. Probably very slow for most audiences, but for horror fans, this is gonna be a delight, without a doubt. I didn't actually find anything weird to add to my last segment of my Torn Apart News episode for this week, so I'm just gonna tell you to tune in next week on Monday for some more movie and TV news. I'm Patrick, and this is Torn Apart News.
Back in the 90s, I was in a very famous TV show.
Da 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 da. Da 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 da.